Hello, welcome my dear students of class 11. How are you? I hope you are well by the grace of Almighty. I'm okay. Today I am going to discuss with you on English first paper from your EFT book, one of the lessons from your EFT book, and I've taken it from unit 14 lesson 1. As there is no certain news of your exam, your 11th annual exam of class 11 has not yet held, so you have to keep revising English first paper. That means the text from your EFT book, and to meet that purpose I am going to discuss one of the lessons from your EFT book today. So let's go to the lesson, and here I am going to present it with PowerPoint slides. Select, check it out. Okay. Now, dear students, today's topic, it is from lesson 13 from new edition and lesson 14 from unit 14 from old edition and unit 13 from new edition and lesson 1. And the name of our lesson is What is Beauty? Look, the name of our lesson is What is Beauty? This is one of the important lessons of your EFT book. Here we come to the text. Here is the text. Here is the text. You will find the word meaning in your guide book, and there is written in Bengali also. Now I'm going to deliver my lecture in English. I'll try my best to make it clear to you. So, students, I hope you will follow me. The text is an analytical one. First of all, I want to suggest you that this topic is about the title of our text is with question mark, as we have seen. What is beauty? So it's a question, and there is an analysis, and after the analysis here comes some information, and for your understands and so that you can understand the abstract concept. That is, beauty is an abstract concept, and it is not easy to understand what is beauty exactly and how does it look like. It looks like in different ways in different things, and this is why it is called an abstract concept. So now I am going to go through the text. Beauty is easy to appreciate. Beauty is easy to appreciate but difficult to define. It is easy to be happy and to praise beauty, but what is beauty actually? Is there any concrete shape of beauty you can't tell certainly. This is why it is difficult to define. As we look around, we discover beauty in pleasurable objects and sights, in nature, in the laughter of children, in the kindness of strangers. What is said here? If we look around in our environment, we discover beauty. We find out beauty in different objects, like those objects which gives us pleasure. Pleasure in our sense, we find pleasure in through our sense perceptions. Then we find beauty in looking something, we find beauty in feeling something. So in this way we find beauty in different objects around in our surroundings. Okay, in nature, in the laughter of children, in the kindness of strangers. In the laughter of children you can find it looks beautiful. In nature you will find the sounds of, you feel beauty in natural sounds, you feel beauty in natural sights. In this way, through our five senses, we can enjoy beauty from nature and different objects around us. But asked to define, but when it is said to give the definition of beauty, we run into difficulties. This run into is a phrase. Run into means we fell into difficulties. So we run into difficulties, that is, we feel difficult. It becomes difficult for us if we are asked to give any definition of beauty. Does beauty have an independent objective identity? This is a question. There are several questions in this analytical text. Does beauty have an independent objective identity? No one can certainly or surely no one can answer this. That is why, as it is an abstract concept, no one can say that any concrete thing can be always beautiful to everyone. Is it universal? That is, it is said, is it universal or is it dependent on our sense perception? Does it lie in the eye of the beholder? That means beauty lies in the eye of the spectator. That means who see the things. That means the beholder. Does beauty lies in the eye of the spectator? That means the beholder who sees the thing. Does beauty lie on the eye of that person? We ask ourselves this question. Can be generated in ourselves. And if art has beauty as an important ingredient, can it confine itself? Oh, sorry, there is another text. A further difficulty arises when beauty manifests itself not only by its presence but by its absence as well. But if we want to define beauty, another difficulty we face is that when these things happen, that we can feel beauty not only in the presence of any beautiful thing but also in the absence of it. When we imagine something beautiful, we can feel beauty. We can feel beauty from our imagination, by recollecting our memories, we can feel beauty. This is why there arises another difficulty that we cannot always say that we feel or we can enjoy beauty only by its presence. We can enjoy beauty its absence as well, as when we are repulsed by ugliness and desire beauty. When we take pleasure from the imagination or by recollecting our memories, we enjoy beauty. When we are repulsed by ugliness, when some ugly thing When some ugly thing irritates us, we try to avoid those ugliness, and we desire for beauty, we expect beauty, and if it is not present in front of our eyes, we expect beauty from our imagination. By recollecting our memories, we try to enjoy beauty at that time. But then ugliness has as much place in our lives as beauty, or maybe more, as when there is widespread hunger and injustice in a society. What is said? Ugliness has as much place in our lives as beauty. Though we always look for beauty, we don't try to find out ugliness, because we always try to avoid ugliness from our life. This is true, but we cannot deny that though we don't like beauty, we can abolish it from the art. It is not possible. We have to face ugliness also in the art. So, ugliness has as much place in our lives as beauty, or maybe more. It is true that in the art there is more ugliness than beauty. So, when there is widespread hunger and injustice in society, as in our society there is so much injustice and widespread hunger, so this is the implication that there is ugliness prevailing in the society, and that is why hunger and injustice prevails in the society also. Philosophers have told us that beauty is an important part of life, but isn't ugliness a part of life to philosophers? Those who think upon one particular thing very deeply and try to find out, or try to analyze the things and try to find out the exact answer of that particular complicated thing, those are the philosophers. The philosophers has told us that beauty is an important part of life. Beauty, it is true that beauty is an important part. We always look for beauty, we try to enjoy beauty, and it's our ultimate goal to make to beautify our life. But isn't ugliness a part of our? We always try to avoid ugliness from our life, but it is not possible for us to apart it from our life. Both beauty and ugliness live or exist simultaneously in our life. And if art has beauty as an important ingredient, can it confine itself only to a projection of beauty? And if art has beauty as an important ingredient, art means to performing art. If any kind of art, the purpose of art, the target of art to present anything beautifully. That means beauty is the ultimate target of art. So, to discover beauty, to present beauty, to capture beauty is the ultimate target of art. So, beauty is an important ingredient of art, it can be said. But what is the another thing? That if art can confine itself on the projection or the presenting beauty, art can confine itself only in the presenting beauty, cannot ignore what is not beautiful. So if there is no place of ugliness in art, can art totally ignore beauty? Is it a question? It is also a question. Poets and artists have provided an answer by incorporating both into their work. So poets and artists, they work together and both of them tried to make an answer of this question. In doing so, or in their effort of answering the question, they have often tied beauty to truth and justice. So, poets and artists try to make out the answer like this. They create an tie. They create a tie between beauty and truth. So what is not beautiful? What is not beautiful in this world assumes a tolerable proportion as something that tolerable proportion as something that represents some truth about life. So what is not beautiful assumes a tolerable proportion as something that represents some truth about life. So poet and artist want to create a tie, create a tie between beauty and truth, because if there is no beauty in any kind of objects on earth, if there is truth, if it actually exists, then we have to endure it, we can endure it, we can tolerate it in our life, the existence of that things or that person or that objects in our life as it is truth. Then there must have some beauty, though it seems ugliness, or it seems like something irritative. But if there exists some truth, there must have some beauty. We have to understand we have to realize this, and in this way that ugliness also assumes a tolerable proportion in our life. So poet and artist tries to make an answer of this, like in this way, that what exists and in which there lies truth, there must have beauty, though it is seen or not. So this is why they said that what is not beautiful assumes a tolerable proportion as something that represents some truth about life. If there is truth, there must have some beauty, though it is seen to us or not. John Keats. This is an example from a great poet, John Keats, one of the English poets, one of the romantic poets of English literature. John Keats, the romantic poet, wrote in his celebrated ode. This is a poet. This is one of the poems of John Keats, Ode on a Grecian Urn. In this poem, John Keats has written that beauty is truth, beauty. So what is beauty? Is truth, and where there lies any truth, that things is also beauty, though it sometimes it looks not beautiful in its appearance, but if there lies truth, there must have some beauty, and we have to understand this, we have to realize it, we have to tolerate that thing as there lies some truth in it. Okay, by which it means that truth, even if it not pleasant, here it is said, truth, even if it not pleasant, it looks not pleasant, becomes beautiful at a higher level. Though it not looks beautiful, it becomes beautiful at a higher level as there lies truth in it. So we have to realize that anything that exists, that actually exists, as there lies some truth in any objects, so there must have some beauty, and that beauty is of a higher level. Maybe we cannot always understand it. Similarly, what is beautiful forever remains true. In the same way, what is beautiful remains true or exists in the world. Another meaning in the context of the Grecian urn, an art object, is that truth is a condition of art. So in Grecian urn, John Keats tries to make us realize that if anything is presenting through art, there must have truth in it, and truth is the condition of art. If there is no truth, there must be no beauty, and the condition of art will not be fulfilled in that case. So, to be beautiful, there must be truth in every object, and that is the condition of art. So, this is the whole text as we have already read. One thing that you can say, what is beauty? At the last moment, there comes the answer like this. What is truth? And if there lies truth in any object, in any place, in any person, there must be beauty in that thing also. Though seemingly apparently it seems to it is seen by us, or if we can't see it, we have to realize it. We have to understand it, that there must have some beauty, though it may be of higher level that we cannot easily understand, but there is beauty also. Now, today our exercise. Now we will do some exercise from this text. We will do the item of question answering. So here are the question, and I have tried to make answer of those questions and have written the answers of those questions also. Please check it out. It will help you to take a good preparation on the text. First question is like this: when do we run into difficulties? But when do we fail difficulties? When do we fail into difficulties? So there comes the answer. It is easy for us to appreciate beauty when we discover it in every pleasurable objects, but we run into difficulties when we are asked to define beauty. At first, you have to make out the answer from the text, so it will be easy for you to follow the text and try to capture the answer from the text. So it can be in one line. You can give the answer, but as the marks in each question, there is 2 marks for in each question answering. So if you write the answer elaborately, it will be better for you. Okay, this is why you try to answer the question elaborately. It is easy for us to appreciate beauty. Okay, it is easy for us. We can praise beauty easily when we discover it in every pleasurable objects. You can find this line in the text: easy to appreciate but difficult to define, as well you could discover beauty. So I have taken the lines: when we discover beauty in pleasurable objects and sights, it is easy for us to appreciate. But here is the line: but we run into difficulties when we are asked to define. When we are asked to define, when we are asked to give a definition of beauty, we run into difficulties or we fell into difficulties. So there comes the answer. It is easy for us to appreciate beauty when we discover it in every pleasurable objects, but we run into difficulties when we are asked to define beauty. You get it? Okay. Now here comes another question. Question number 2. Where do you find beauty? So when we look around, we find beauty in pleasurable objects and sights. We also write this line in the answer of our previous question, but here it is in this answer, in the answer of question 2. This line is also here, it is repeated. When we look around, we find beauty in pleasurable objects and sights, like in nature. Now where we find, we give the description elaborately, like in nature, in the laughter of children, and in the kindness of strangers. So where do you find beauty? We find beauty in different pleasurable objects and sights, like in nature, in the laughter of children, and in the kindness of beauty. And if we go to the text, we will find the answer clearly here. Here we discover beauty in pleasurable objects and sights, in nature, in the laughter of children, in the kindness of strangers. So it is easy to copy the lines to make out the answer. So question number 2 is very easy. This kind of question answering this kind of questions is very easy for you, but always be careful about the persons, numbers of verb, and also the tense. You have to find the question is in the tense of present indefinite. So we look around, we are using present indefinite tense. When do we run into difficulties, there is also using present tense, and we have also used to appreciate. This is we discover this is also using simple present tense. Next, now we'll go for question number 3. Is ugliness a part of life? If so, how? If so, how? Yes, ugliness is certainly a part of life. Ugliness has as much a place in our lives as beauty, as when there is widespread hunger and injustice in a society. It is asked here, is ugliness a part of life? Yes. It is said in that text that ugliness is also a part of our life. So yes, ugliness certainly. We have used certainly to ensure it. Yes, ugliness is certainly a part of our life. We cannot avoid or we cannot discard ugliness from our life. So yes will be the answer. We have to answer positively. Yes, and after yes we put comma, and yes, only yes cannot be the answer. You have to complete the answer. Yes, ugliness is certainly a part of life. Ugliness has as much a place in our lives as beauty. As it said in the text, ugliness is also lies or exists in our life as much as beauty, or more than beauty. There is more than beauty. Ugliness is more in our life than beauty. So ugliness has as much a place in our lives as beauty. As when, why we we feel that ugliness in our life, because there is widespread hunger and injustice in the society. this is the indication that there lies ugliness in our society, because there is injustice in society and there is widespread hunger in society, and this is the symbol that there lies something different than beauty, and that different is ugliness. So ugliness has as much a place in our lives as beauty, as when there is widespread hunger and injustice in a society. Okay, so if so, is ugliness? If you say yes here, how? You have to answer complete the question by giving the reason. By giving a rational answer, you have to complete the question. So after yes, we have elaborately said the reason and how ugliness exists in our lives or in our society. Okay. Next, question number 4. Here comes the question number 4. How have the poets and artists tied beauty to truth and justice? How have the poets and artists tied beauty to truth and justice? So I have already said, while reading out the text, I have already said that poets and artists make a knot, or try to create a tie, or make a knot between the two things, that means beauty and truth. The poet and artist have tied beauty to truth and justice by incorporating both beauty and ugliness into their work, so that what is not beautiful assumes a tolerable proportion as something that represents some truth about life. So poets and artists try to make an answer by creating a knot or tie between creating a bondage between beauty and truth. So they say that if it seems that there is no beauty in any objects, but if it really exists, or if there lies some truth in it, you have to realize that there must have beauty in it, though it is of higher level, and we cannot easily understand this, though it is not apparently seen to us. So we have to realize that there must have beauty, but we cannot see it due to our own reasons. But if it exists, if there lies truth, we have to realize that there must have beauty. In this way, the poet and artist create a tie, or try to make a bondage between beauty and truth. They bind the two things, beauty and truth, together to create an atmosphere, so that we can tolerate the ugliness in our life in a way by giving it the qualification of having truth. We can tolerate it for our life. So what is not beautiful, what is not apparently beautiful, assumes a tolerable proportion when we know that there is some truth in it. And this is the answer of the question. You will find the answer of the question in the last portion in the middle portion of our text. Poets and artists provide an answer by incorporating both into their work. By both means the beauty and truth into their work. In doing so, they have often tied beauty to truth and injustice, so that what is not beautiful assumes a tolerable proportion as something that represents some truth about life. From this portion of the text, we can easily collect the answer. Here comes the answer. Okay. Now we will go for the last but not the least, question number 5. What has John Keats written in Ode on a Grecian Urn? This is the name of one of the poems written by John Keats. So what John Keats has said in this poem? In Ode on a Grecian Urn, John Keats has written that beauty is truth, beauty. Beauty is truth. What is beauty? Must be truth, and what is truth must have some beauty in it. By which he means that truth, even if it is not pleasant, though it not looks pleasant, though it cannot feel pleasure with it, becomes beautiful at a higher level. This is, it is said that becomes beautiful at a higher level, though it is not tangible to us. We cannot easily understand it, but we have to understand that there must have beauty in the thing in which lies some truth. So even it is not pleasant, becomes beautiful at a higher level. So this portion, these lines, we can collect it from the text very easily. In the last portion of the text, John Keats, romantic poet, wrote in his celebrated Ode on a Grecian Urn, beauty is truth, beauty, by which it means that truth, even if it is not pleasant, becomes beautiful at a higher level. We have collected this portion as an answer of the question number 5. So it is also be very easy for us to give an answer of the question. So though the text is an analytical one about an abstract concept, but when you comes to the question answering, this type of text is easy for question answering. Though it looks a little bit complicated, but easy for answering the questions, because in the text there remains sufficient information for the answer. You don't have to collect it from others, from anywhere else. So you will be able to find all the question answers from the text. It will be easy for you to answer it if you collect the information from the text in your exam hall. You will feel better if you collect it from your text. The information is in text. In some places we have to modify something, you have to adorn it according to, you have to collect the information, and you have to set up according to the question as it is, as question is asked for, or as question is wanted, what is wanted in the question. You have to set up the answer like this, collecting the information from your text. So these are all the question answers from 1 to 5. I have written the answer. You will, if you want to go through it more than time, you can have it in the Facebook recorded live, so you can go through it as much time as you want. And after we are now at the end of the class time, so there is a homework for you. You have to put the date of today's class lecture time. You have to put the date and write down the summary of the text. That means the text, what is beauty, you have to write down the summary and try to write it in 5 sentences, because if you write in 5 sentences, the body of the summary or the size of the summary will be appropriate. Okay, try to write in 5 full stops, that means in 5 sentences. Okay, so write down the summary of the text. This is your homework. Try to do the homework and keep it keep it with you when our class or our college resumes. It maybe we will collect it from you. We want it from you, and then that time if you submit it, it will be helpful for you. Okay, so that's all for today. Now I will take leave of you. Thank you everyone. Dear students, that I have gone through the lesson. I hope you have enjoyed and you have learned what is needed for you. Try to revise the lessons. Keep revising the first paper, that means the EFT book text, important text, as your examination is not yet over. So always be prepared for your annual exam that is not yet held. You have to, anytime you have to sit for the exam. No one can certainly tell you what is going to happen and on which day, on which time it is going to happen. That as it is uncertain, you have to be prepared for everything. Actually, the exam is very important for you, and if you stay idle, then it will damage your memories. You will deprive yourself from your skills. So try to follow the online classes and at least make the homeworks or make the home tasks that is provided through the online classes. And I think in this way you will keep yourself busy with your studies. I hope for the best for all of you, and thank you everyone. Goodbye today. See you again, dear students of class 11. Goodbye.